Salutations gamers. Gonna be trying a different video for once. In Destiny 2 currently, there's been some controversy of late regarding broken exotics, like divinity needing to be nerfed. Content creators, the average Joe, and everyone in between have been discussing whether or not divinity needs a nerf. Bungie finally responded and said they plan on lowering the debuff divinity applies from 30 to 15%. However, this video isn't going to be about that. In fact, I'm going to be talking about a more broken exotic. I'm talking about Arbalest. I'm not saying RB needs a nerf, however, many people claim it's overpowered and makes it a must pick for all levels of content, which results in basically running the same exact loadout in anything and everything you're doing in Destiny, even if there aren't any champions present. If you'd just like to get my quick thoughts, here's a brief description of what the video is going to talk about. Also, I'm going to make sure to leave the script within the description if need be. First off though, I think it'd be really awesome if you subbed, liked the vid, and also checked me out live at twitch.tv/catharsisgames. Come by, say hi, drop a follow. I mean, what are you waiting for? I'm live right now. Now, let's get right back to the video. In the background of the video, I'm going to be showcasing how amazing Arbalest is in different types of content, such as Master Dungeons and Grandmaster Strikes, for example. But these are going to be the top reasons why Arbalest is undoubtedly the single most broken and most used exotic in the game. Arbalest's ease of use and accessibility means you don't even need a crit to pop shields. The Disruption Break perk and Genesis Catalyst. It's by far the best intrinsic anti-barrier exotic. Viability in all levels of low to in-game level of content and skill of the player. The fact that everyone and their grandmother has Arbalest unlocked as well. Arbalest heavily power creeps several old and new exotics as well as perks. Anti-barrier is one of, if not the most common champ type. Arbalest has an extreme amount of range because it's linear. The current DPS meta is also linears, so you get twice the benefits of running mods like linear scavs, reserves, and ammo finders. RB easily beats Wishenders despite Wishender getting buffed recently. And finally, Arbalest's intrinsic perk provides a reliable way to stun champions each and every season, considering the fact that you need XP to unlock artifact mods every time the season starts. Other than the obvious fact that people point out that RB nullifies match game, which is a huge factor in in-game content, keep in mind that RB applies a debuff upon breaking any shield, even in PvP, by buffing kinetic damage on a target upon breaking said shield. Said debuff benefits not only you, but literally everyone on your fire team as well. It's essentially giving you a third source of elemental damage, just by being kinetic and because of its exotic perks and catalysts. This applies to everything, and you don't need to coordinate your teams or your own loadout and subclass at all, let alone make a build for it. RB basically makes stasis element weapons useless because there are 0 stasis shields within the entirety of the game. RB makes perks redundant as well, such as Osmosis for example. RB does the same job better, but with less work. Barrier rounds go through physical shields, giving you an advantage versus enemies such as Hive Knights, Cabal, Hydras, etc. Anti-barriers is one of, if not the most used champ type in the entire game. The only enemy races that don't have barrier champs are Taken and Scorn. There's only one strike that contains all 3 champ types as well, and that's just counting strikes and Grandmaster strikes. Other in-game content such as Master Dungeons or raids that have champ types are in the same situation. Only Master Vow doesn't have barrier champs, meaning RB is a top contender for anti-barrier. Plus, with both Master Dungeons, they have barrier champs in them. Barriers in Master Keitel are in fact irrelevant, and you can completely ignore them when running the Master version of the final boss in Duality. Anyways, if you're going to be doing Master content, you're most likely using a heavy linear for DPS, because they're the highest damage heavy option available, and using mods for linear scavs, reserves, and even ammo finders, you get twice the benefits because you're running a heavy and a special linear fusion rifle. RB also does a fantastic amount of damage for being a special weapon and a linear as well. 2, it one-taps Golgoroth's back for Gatekeepers and barrier champs it well for Master Golgoroth, for example. Do I need to continue? While you can get away with not using RB, such as using Stasis Freeze to bypass champs shielding themselves, or simply doing high enough burst damage before they can even shield themselves and regen their health. There are just countless benefits to using Arbalest that make it OP that people don't even know or people ignore just because the argument in this situation is RB is good, Wish Ender and Artifact mods are bad. In my opinion, the second best anti-barrier style perk would be Adaptive Munitions. I don't even think Adaptive Munitions is a perk on any kinetic weapon at all. While there are benefits to using double anti-barrier rounds on weapons, let's talk about how tedious it takes to either unlock a adept version of a weapon that you want with 5 out of 5 rolls, or having to grind for multiple deep sight weapons and then crafting it. You have to get multiple red border weapons, unlock the deep sight resonance from them, then rack up over 6,000 deep sight resonance to craft the weapon, level it up, unlock enhanced adaptive munitions to get the most value out of the perk. Now, it seems that 17 is the new max level for the best perks on crafted weapons as well. Then put armor-piercing rounds on, and finally add major spec because champs count as majors. And that's all you have to do to get the absolute 5 out of 5 god roll now. You have to invest so much time, so much effort, do this, do that, way too much involved to get the best out of min-maxing literally anything and everything just for good anti-barrier rounds without running Arbalest. The option is obviously clear. Arbalest is OP just because of its ease of use and accessibility. On top of that, outside of 2 or 3 weapons, Adaptive Munitions takes the 4th perk row and prevents you from using in-game level perks like One for All, Explosive Head, Vorpal, etc. And finally, Enhanced Adaptive Munitions still doesn't one-tap champ shields nor elemental shields. Instead, just use Arbalest. It's all that and a bag of chips. You don't need the catalyst, but it does have a substantial benefit for the exotic, but RB's just so versatile and easy to use with its ability to one-tap any and every shield in the game. Cause that's the thing, RB has countless benefits people still don't grasp, and the exotic has literally 0 downsides or cons. If anything is worth using in in-game content, it'll definitely excel in low to mid-level content. The exotic is so viable, I never unequipped it when farming GMs last season because one loadout was viable for every GM. Just run Arbalest. Use a heavy linear that matches the elemental burn of the strike and your choice of unstop or overload rounds. On the subject of Wish Ender, apparently the perk True Sight is bugged and doesn't work in certain areas with odd lighting. It doesn't even work in entire strikes and areas of the game, such as Glassway. Wish Ender currently has a bug too, where it does way more damage than it's supposed to when it's fired through a Sight and Rampart's barricade, but also deals more damage to target shot with Witherhoard. However, these are major bugs and will no doubt be fixed sometime soon, and while this may bring the usage of Wish Ender up, it does not come close to the fact that it is outclassed by far by Arbalest. In fact, I think RB's Catalyst is still bugged and doesn't even proc the following effects of Genesis, where energy weapons regen ammo on hit when matching the damage type to a combatant's shield. Besides, Bungie generally places barrier champs super far away, in which you need a long-range weapon like a linear to break a shield. Can't even use an SMG or an auto weapon effectively on console due to bloom, screen shake, and reticle bouncing around a lot. In my honest opinion, Anti-Barrier Scout, Pulse, and then Bow would probably be the best artifact mods to use when they're available every season. In conclusion, Arbalest's ease of use and accessibility means you don't need to crit to pop shields. The Disruption Break perk and Genesis Catalyst are by far the best intrinsic anti-barrier exotic perks. Viability in all levels of low to in-game level of content and skill. The fact that everyone and their grandmother has Arbalest unlocked. Arbalest heavily power creeps several old and new exotics as well as perks. Anti-barrier is one of, if not the most common champ type. The range of Arbalest. Current DPS meta is also linears, and you get twice the benefit of running mods like linear scavs, reserves, and also ammo finders. RB easily beats Wishender despite Wishender buffs and bugs. And finally, Arbalest's intrinsic perk provides a reliable way to stun champs each and every season, since artifact mods change each and every season, and you don't need XP to unlock artifact mods if you're just going to use Arbalest anyways. Outclasses every anti-barrier gun, perk, and exotic in the game. For example, whenever Bastion was first released in the game, it did an insane amount of damage to elemental shields. However, this did not affect champions at all. Now, however, Bastion has received a intrinsic unstoppable round buff to it, and it doesn't do elemental damage to shields anymore. In fact, at peak usage, Bastion was essentially a PvP only weapon. Granted, you do have people that use their favorite weapon in every piece of content. Sure, you can use Last Word, for example, in PvE and strikes. You could even make a build with Last Word in PvE and use Lucky Pants to give it an insane amount of damage. However, that build isn't going to help you at all. In fact, you can build craft all you want with Bastion. You can use it with the new Rain of Fire Warlock exotic boots that you want. However, I never see any people use those exotics or build craft those armor pieces as well in PvE. You're absolutely going to be the only person at all that's using Bastion or Last Word in PvE, but go ahead and you do you, man. At that point, you're only using the weapon due to it being fun, or you just like the gunplay and perks. It's not going to be meta, it's not going to be helping the team at all, it's just a personal opinion at that point. In fact, Bungie nerfed Bastion's effectiveness in PvP and changed its perks to make it a PvE weapon now. It was also amazing at shutting down supers in PvP, but its damage per shot got nerfed hard and it's not reliable at shutting down supers anymore. I can't even remember when Bastion got nerfed, but it was definitely a season or two after Bastion's release during Season of Dawn, which was in 2019. On top of that, Bastion's appeal at the time was basically only being a fusion rifle available in the kinetic slot, which gave it a reason to use. Nowadays, though, there are far better fusion rifles to use in the kinetic slot with amazing perks like Riptide with Chill Clip, or even a crafted or adept Deliverance with Chill Clip, which definitely becomes a monster and worth build crafting for. Both of those legendaries give you much better opportunities to build craft and buff your stasis subclass by having an AoE freeze on demand, which can actually stop anti-barrier champions from shielding themselves and regenning health. Add to that, you don't even need to build craft to get the most out of Chill Clip and fusion rifles. You don't need to run a stasis subclass to get the most bang for your buck when using Chill Clip and Riptide, while being a meme like Edge Transit for dropping all the time in Crucible. It does have a great set of perks for DPS, and people like to use it as a primary Cartesian foil as well. The appeal to use Bastion in the current sandbox, in my honest opinion, is now simply a novel and personal choice, but the weapon has certainly become power crept and is outclassed by legendary fusions. Cartesian is still meta and does fantastic DPS, even without particle acceleration artifact mod from seasons ago. And another thing is that artifact mods that make linears even more meta to them still dominate in all levels of PvE. Artifact mods heavily direct the meta from season to season to this day. Remember how much Anarchy was the exotic to use each season, and it got buffed by Breach and Clear? The artifact mods, coupled with Anarchy's ease of use, high DPS with being able to swap to a special weapon for DPS, Anarchy's reserve amount dominated the meta in every level of content when Breach and Clear was in the game. Yes, Anarchy did get a nerf this season afterwards, but it still has the same damage versus major enemy types, and champs are considered majors as well. Anarchy is far and away being from the worst exotic in-game, but anyone would definitely rather use Anarchy instead of Bastion. I definitely see RB being used on a regular and daily basis in every type of content by all levels and skills of players. I can't remember the last time I've personally seen someone use Bastion in PvE or PvP within the past year. The fact that Bastion doesn't even have a catalyst either doesn't help its case, and it doesn't need a masterwork to regen orbs. But I get what you're saying. Sure, people like to pick up their favorite gun and use it 24/7. but it's been seasons since I've last used Bastion or seen people use it. Even Arbalest and Lorentz Driver are still popular in PvP, especially Trials, despite both getting nerfed heavily. Special weapon linears excel in PvP even though they've been nerfed several times. I don't even know if Bastion still does extra elemental damage to elemental shields, because the exotic's not worth using. I deleted it a long time ago, and it's not worth the shards or glimmer to pull it out of my vault or collections to find out for the sake of this video. Add to that the fact that it has unstoppable rounds intrinsically now, so there's zero chance it'll ever be able to be used with artifact mods, let alone anti-barrier rounds. Even exotics that deal elemental damage and change element, which is the entire point of weapons like Hardlight or Borealis, are severely outclassed by Arbalest. Why change to a different element multiple times when I can just one-shot every elemental shield in-game and anti-barrier chance with Arbalest? 2. Even Titan's second chance exotic gauntlets don't break shields in-game, such as GMs. However, they do one-tap barrier shields in other types of content. 2. You'd have to run a Void subclass on Titan, and the exotic arms are definitely not worth using compared to the likes of Helm of Saint 14 or Ursa Furiosa's for in-game content. And that's ignoring the fact that second chance won't break other elemental shields because it's void damage. And on top of that, the gloves don't have a way to regen melee energy back and require more build crafting and loadout min-maxing to make them even worth using. Just use Arbalest. You're gonna one-shot any and every elemental shield and every single champ, regardless of your level in the game. I wouldn't even say Void Titan is meta currently, as it's currently outclassed by Stormnade Titan spam on Arc and Thundercrash Titan. Or you can just run Thundercrash and Curious, and people still rock Lorelei Splendor. One last thing, having intrinsic champ mods on Arbalest means you have more space for mods on your arm's armor. RB absolutely power creeps Ariana's Vow, which no one uses anymore. People argue and are disappointed by the fact that it takes forever to unlock and use the catalyst for Ariana's now, and Limit has been nerfed several times. However, I do still see certain people using that in solo GMs, for example. However, everyone's using Arbalest. Everyone. Not just one or two people. Everyone. While we do have anti-barrier sniper this season, it will go away soon. On top of that, the mod cost to socket anti-barrier is way too high at 6 slots and takes away more room and mod slots on your arm. On top of that, certain snipers require a precision hit to one-shot barrier champs, while Arbalest can one-shot body shot to break elemental shields as well as anti-barrier champions. Finally, anti-barrier artifact mods don't even work for elemental shields at all. So, that's going to be the conclusion of this video. If you somehow come up with any better argument as to why Arbalest isn't OP or worth using or the most overpowered exotic in the entire game, I mean, people think Divinity is. It's getting nerfed. Arbalest absolutely deserves a nerf. I don't want anything to get nerfed in the game, but it's going to happen. Bungie likes to dictate when and how long metas last, whether it's PvE, PvP, in-game content, season artifact mods, anything else you can think of. But on that note, if you do happen to think of anything else, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to see the engagement here. I'd love to see what people think about the video. Maybe make a video of your own, respond to this. Let me know. At this point, do I even need to tell you to subscribe, like the video, or even share it with your friends? But at the very least, make sure to stick around to the end of the video. I appreciate it. And on that note, see ya, chump.
last couple of years ago.
Good riddance, evil bastards. Until next time.
After recording the video, I realized there was a huge missed opportunity at the beginning of the video to not say that I was sponsored by Arby's to make the video. Hashtag not sponsored. Also hashtag Arby's. Arby's nuts.